So, hello everybody, and welcome to Life in Construction, our podcast where we dive into some of the key issues that are impacting the construction industry today. I'm Rick Montani. I'm senior advisor here at SECA, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host Suzanne Leonopoulos, who's our director of marketing for Target Market Concrete. Suzanne, good to see you. Good to be here with you.
Great. Thanks, Rick. It's great to be here. And I'm excited to talk about the trends that are happening in the commercial roofing market today. We're joined by two very well-known experts in the commercial roofing industry, Mr. Brian Whelan and Mr. Dan Murphy. Gentlemen, welcome to Life in Construction, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for the invitation. We're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Suzanne. Thanks, Rick. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Thank you, guys. And maybe we just start by letting you introduce yourselves a little bit, give a little bit about your background and your experience in commercial roofing. Brian, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I'll start. Right. So, my name is Brian Whelan. I've got a degree in architectural technology. After college, I worked for an engineering company called Simpson, Gumpertz and Hager. I traveled up and down the East Coast, mostly on roofing projects. So that's really where my background came, or learning background came from for roofing. After I left SGH, I worked for two international roofing manufacturers for a total of 42 years. And in the last couple of years, I started up my own consulting business, and I'm consulting for construction-related businesses and companies, as well as working for different associations. One of them is the Chemical, Fabric, and Film Association, and they hired me to help them get better at recycling. Dan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Brian. And I'm Dan Murphy, and it's, again, a pleasure to be here. I have a plus 40-year career and experience in the commercial roofing industry. I started in the component manufacturing side, selling to contractors, OEMs, and distributors. And as the business grew, that was wonderful. And I transitioned into the roofing system manufacturer world. And I am recently an advisor and an investor in various companies in the commercial roofing industry.
Oh, thank you both. And again, we're really happy to have you here with us today. So maybe to get us started, I'll ask you both, what are some of your insights into the state of the commercial roofing market? We're closing on the end of the year. How do you think the market's doing so far? Where do you see it going?
So I'll start first, Suzanne. So first, let's take a look at the overall commercial roofing market. It's very large. It is made up of new construction and re-roofing. And re-roofing makes up about 75% of the commercial roofing space. So it's it's very large, and it's a very stable business. Even when there's a recession or there's economic challenges, because that large re-roofing business is always there, again, it's a very, very stable business. And what's driving the business, we see really two things. New construction is driven by, I would say, typically just what's going on with general economics, but also in market segments. And I'll give a couple of examples of that shortly. Whereas in the re-roofing business, that's primarily driven by how long the roof lasts, and also what kind of weather events the roof has experienced. So, for example, if you have a hurricane or you have a large hail event, you get all sorts of roofing damage that needs to be taken care of pretty quickly. When we talk about vertical market segments, they can swing the new construction business a lot. And I'll give two examples. One is right after COVID, there was a lot of construction going on with warehouse work. Amazon was building warehouses all over the place, right? Pharmaceutical work was very hot because of what was going on with COVID too. Not that those two business segments have disappeared. They're still very solid, but they've slowed down. And today, all the talk is about data centers. I'm sure Dan and I will talk a little bit more about data centers. But it's a huge boom for the construction industry. It's great for roofing because they're building very robust roof systems. And we think the data center work is going to be around for another 5 or 10 years. So we always, in our business, we used to always talk, go where the money is, because there's always money available in one market segment, even if another one was to drop off. So Suzanne, your question was, okay, how was 2025? So 2025, it's not over just yet, but everything that we read, everything we feel and we see, it's another solid year, but it's just a small amount of growth in 25. Now, that's on top of a really nice growth for 23 and 24. So, yes, it's still considered to be a very good year, sales-wise, profitability-wise for the commercial roofing business. But if people were expecting double-digit growth or a large growth to happen in 2025, that's not what we're seeing in the commercial roofing space right now.
So Brian, that's a good point. So even with the boom in data centers and all that's going on, that's helping, but there must be other parts of the market that aren't doing as well. And overall, we're getting a little bit of growth. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I'll let Dan chime in too, but everything that certainly I see and we read about would indicate that the market might be up a couple of percent. Okay, now we should take it in perspective. If you look historically, because it's such a large market, a good year is typically 3 to 5% growth for the commercial roofing market. But to answer your question, right now it's only up maybe a couple of percent. And I think Dan will talk about it. It's interesting. The first part of the year, it was a little bit more robust. It's kind of slowing down a little bit in the second half of the year. So Dan, what's your thoughts? What are you seeing, Dan?
I agree with what you're saying, and to piggyback off it, the first half was more robust. They had more installs going on. And by the way, everything is somewhat regional as well. You could be very busy in a certain market and not as much in a different geographically. But overall, first half was busier. Second half, with all the economic uncertainties, it kind of people hit the brakes a little on certain outlook on commercial roofing projects. Further to your new construction comment, Brian, I think in the past, you had lower interest rates that really helped drive a lot of new construction, whether it was big box or whatever. The higher interest rate environment that we've been in for a few months now, or a year or more, has kind of tampered the core new construction, but new construction's up because, as you said, at the data centers. So overall, commercial roofing is flat up a few points, which is good for commercial roofing. It's not an industry that has huge double-digit swings up or down. So up a few points is a solid commercial roofing year, and that's the footing I think that we're all on.
Maybe Dan, just another question for me. This year's been all this craziness going on in the world with tariffs. Have tariffs played any role this year in what's happening in roofing in any aspect that you can see, or is it not really?
Yes. Yeah, well, there's two areas. One is more specific. There's certain supplies, whether that's wood from Canada, metal, or raw materials from China, that were tariff impacts on them. So it kind of hurt certain supply chain or profitability, but that's small compared to the general tariff impact. It had business owners a little bit hitting the pause button on capital spending and on roofing and re-roofing or a new construction build out on their facility. So the tariff was more of a overall economic general impact that I think we're actually have and are working our way through in the commercial roofing industry.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah.
So how are these changing market dynamics impacting supply chain?
So good question. So if we look back the last few years, right out of COVID, inventories were brought down, and yet the expansion of what was going on with warehouse work and re-roofing was put off for a while with COVID. There was this explosion of work in the commercial roofing business. And it was very, very difficult for the roofing manufacturers to stay up with that demand. So it took really a couple of years to work through that. So now 25 was really the first year. I think, Dan, your interest here too. But, I think 25 is the first year that people can say the supply chain held in there. It was solid. You know, it wasn't the reason for many jobs being delayed or being put off. There were still some challenges, but 25 was much, much better than what 23 and 24 were.
I agree. Supply is not a challenge to the commercial roofing space right now. There's one-offs, but generally speaking, it's a pretty mature model. Manufacturers, primarily through roofing, commercial and residential roofing distributors, to the roofing contractor. It's a good, efficient model of getting material to the field. And supply is not really the challenge today that it certainly was 2-3 years ago.
That's great to hear. So with that in mind, how do you see 2026? Where do you see that shaping up for the commercial roofing market?
Dan, go ahead.
Well, there's one thing that we look at is there is a formal survey of contractors that gets put out quarterly that collects backlog data. And of interest is the backlog data suggests roofers have jobs. I don't think it's as crazy robust with long pipelines, but there is generally a feeling that there is backlog, there's work that's being bid, and the roofing outlook is pretty solid and steady. There's always some regions that are hotter or have more demand than others, and there's certain suppliers, manufacturers, and contractors that take share in that environment and might be even busier than some. But overall, it's on pretty solid footing. The outlook looks solid, not super robust, but not down. And I think it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Brian, you would agree? Brian?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
just a couple more comments. I think that, and Dan said this, it should be very solid. There's nothing that indicates that things are going to drop off or, quite frankly, explode in a positive direction. It should be 26 should be another solid year. Again, that's just one person's thought, but I think it might be the reverse of 2025. As Dan mentioned, the first part of 25 was more robust, and the second half of 25 is, let's say, slowing down a little bit. So my read is that we might get off to a slower start in 26, with that now pivoting in the mid part of 26 to more growth. Don't know for sure, but that's kind of what I see on the horizon.
And then one huge factor in commercial roofing is weather driven. So if there's storms and there's commercial, it's a bad winter in the Midwest or even in the Southwest area or the Northeast, it creates re-roofing demand, which is the high majority of the commercial roofing market. The roofing market commercially gets affected more by weather than it actually does interest rates. But overall, I think we're on solid footing, and you're right, Brian. I think the year might start on the soft side comparatively to last year, 26 to 25. But overall, I think it'll be a good year.
Well, that's good to hear. Solid is good. Solid footing is good to hear. All right, so we've talked a little bit about the market. I wanted to change gears a little bit here and ask you guys to speak to, what are the significant trends that are taking place in commercial roofing these days, that you guys see as being significant, that are going to impact things for years to come. Like you to maybe expand upon that a little bit, and what you see the things, on the horizon that are impacting roofing. So maybe, Brian, let's start with you.
Sure. So I think the biggest thing when we talk with roofing contractors, labor and labor shortage is really it's real. Now, it's not just in roofing, as we know, it's in all kind of construction trades, but roofing for sure, and it impacts things in a number of different ways. One of which, if you look at broadly, if we don't have enough roofers, that means we can't put down more roofs. So even if the demand is there, it could be that the roofing labor market could be a reason why you really couldn't get a lot more growth in a particular year. And the reality is we don't see that labor challenge changing anytime soon. It's not new. It's been growing now. The challenge has been growing for, Dan, probably the last 5 or 10 years. But every year it starts to get a little bit more of a concern. Now, what can be done about that? What the industry is trying to do And I think roofing manufacturers, as well as NRCA, the National Roofing Contractors Association, are trying to help in a number of different ways. Number one is they're trying to recruit more people to get into roofing. There are now established training programs, not only in English, but also in Spanish, because what we also find that a lot of the roofing community today is, it's probably 50% Spanish speaking and, 50% English speaking. So whatever you do today for training programs or literature or what's on your website, you really need to have an equal English as well as Spanish. So I think relating to the workers is only going to help us be able to get more workers to join the community. The other thing that we see happening is roofing manufacturers. When you look at all their innovations, and we have a few examples to give later on, there's definitely, it's all about ease of application, speed of application, and safety. So I think if you went to every one of the roofing manufacturers' R&D departments, they would tell you those are three key elements of all of their products that they're planning to introduce. And it's one of the reasons why when we talk about market share, what's going on a little bit, there's definitely trends happening in technology because they're faster, easier, and safer to use. So we see a lot of that happening. Dan, what's your thoughts?
I agree on the labor. It's been a long-standing challenge for roofing. And as you know, Brian, all trades. So the roofing contractor is competing with the electrician, the plumber, the HVC, the flooring guy to get workers. And the demographics in roofing are especially stark. The age is growing and people are leaving the industry and no one is coming in. So not only are they really after trying to recruit, they're going to the vocational school, the industry association. You said, Brian, the NRCA is addressing this. So isn't the roofing industry's foundation. There's an Alliance for Progress Foundation that funds programs to not only talk about how great the industry is and it's a really good place for a career, but they're actually funding tools to go after vocational schools, high school levels to get people to enter the commercial and the residential roofing industry. And on products, the battle cry is to reduce labor on the roof because the products that are out there are very mature, they perform well, but they're only as good as the people that put them down. And therefore, they're trying to really get labor off the roof. So this is really the number one challenge in the commercial roofing industry.
So thanks, Brian and Dan. That's really insightful and I think helpful to our listeners. What other key trends do you see significantly impacting the commercial roofing market?
Dan, you want to talk about consolidation?
Yes, consolidation has been ongoing for some time within commercial and residential roofing. And really, if you break it into three segments, you have the manufacturer, then you have the distribution, then you have the contractor. Well, the manufacturers have been consolidating. The larger ones are buying component manufacturers, they're adding onto their portfolio, and those tend to be bigger acquisitions. Those are kind of established. I wouldn't say it's done, but it's slowed. Roofing distribution has been consolidating. The regional distributors have been being bought up by the national ones, and that's been ongoing. We've had some enormous deals in the past where you saw one national chain, a big box, buy a roofing distributor. Number one. Number two, you saw a financial buyer buy a national publicly traded roofing distributor. So distribution has been consolidating and will so. But really the biggest recent new trend has been roofing contractors are being rolled up. They're being acquired. There's financial buyers looking to roll up both residential and commercial roofing contractors and make them national footprints. This is very much happening now where the roofing contractor can segue his business, stay involved, but become part of a much bigger platform of many offices in a greater geography. And it does speak to the very fact that it's an attractive industry for financial investment. So private equity firms are in buying roofing contractors, establishing models that they can continue to grow and buy other contractors. So that one, the contractor roll-up space or happening is relatively new. in consolidation, and it is happening.
So less and less of the family-owned mom and pop type regional player or state, within a state players. That's happening even on the contracting side, Dan.
It's happening a fair amount. It's happening in other trades as well, but it's really been happening in residential roofing. Now it's really picking up speed in commercial. And the goal of the buyer is to keep that family involved still to some degree. Because at the end of the day, commercial roofing is very much a relationship-driven business with the contractor to the building owner or the architect or consultant or general contractor. So they want to buy the company, but keep involvement of the people that ran it or integral to it. But it's happening.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's dramatic.
They're trying to bring better tools to that mom and pop contractor, whether it's estimating tools, whether it's social media tools, whether it's back office operations. That's their ultimate goal, is to bring better tools to that small branch office to make them more efficient, grow, and hence more profitable.
Got it. Yep. Got it. Okay. Maybe just circling back on these key trends to the materials for a bit, to just ask you guys. I know you said, making these, the materials easier and faster to install. You see any other types of things on the horizon or developments happening there? Used to be different roofing systems in the market were prevalent. Now you see a lot more of course, single ply. But do you see anything development-wise there? Maybe Brian, you could address that one.
Sure. As you said, the industry has evolved. When Dan and I first got into the roofing business, built up roofing, asphalt, tar, and gravel layers, that was the state of the art. It evolved to single ply EPDM or rubber. And then what's happened, certainly in the last 10 years, the real movement towards thermoplastic materials, whether that's PVC or TPO. And why is that? Okay, well, I think people are starting to recognize the white, energy efficient color, the reflective color of it itself. It's fast to install. You now have these 10-foot wide sheets. The seaming technology is not only fast, but it's permanent. It becomes the strongest part of the roof system is the overlaps, the seams. So there's a lot of advantages of why these thermoplastic materials, which, all the indications are now that thermoplastic is over 50% of the commercial roofing market is thermoplastic, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down any. So we expect that trend to continue. The other thing we saw, Rick, was to mention the peel and stick materials. Again, this starts to lead into sustainability, which I know you folks want to talk about too. But we're seeing a clear movement away from liquid adhesives on the roof. It's, let's say, hazardous, dangerous. It's also potentially a fire hazard, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can take these adhesives, peel and stick, and put them on the back side of the roofing membrane, whether it's EPDM, TPO, PVC. So the adhesive is already in the back of the sheet. You take a release liner off and you stick it down. It's better quality, it's faster, and it's safer. So, that backs up that concept that people are looking for things to put the roof down, not sacrificing quality at all, but being able to put it down in a faster way.
So Brian, and I don't want to jump on top of any comments that Dan has, but Brian, you opened the doors to sustainability. Of course, we see that impacting all areas of construction, but it impacts it differently. What are you seeing the impact of sustainability on the commercial roofing sector? Do the customers care? How are you seeing this play out in the marketplace?
So let me get to the does the customer take it serious or not? To that point, let me take that second. So first, again, sustainability in roofing is not new. In fact, a number of roofing manufacturers kind of figured this thing out 20 years ago, that sustainability should be part of the way you run your business. We have now seen pretty much all the roofing manufacturers really have they have a strategy on how they're going to not only get good at sustainability today, but what sustainability is going to look like for them in the near future. I think that I'll use an example, recycling. Recycling started back in 1999. But really no one was doing it. You know, the technology kind of was tried out, it worked and whatever, but we're really starting to see a trend and momentum, in particular with the PVC roofing industry right now. The Chemical Fabric and Film Association, they have this vinyl roofing division, and all the roofing manufacturers have got together. They're sharing best demonstrated practices. They're doing everything that they can to recycle not only pre-consumer, but post-consumer PVC roofing. And just two statistics. One is that in the last 10 years, 200 million pounds of PVC roofing has been kept out of landfill and has been recycled. And to give a sense for the momentum of post-consumer, so you're taking the old roof back and recycling it, in 2024, 10 million square feet of PVC roof was taken back and recycled into either new roofing membrane, new roofing products, or into long-lasting construction materials like PVC flooring. So we're definitely seeing a trend towards more sustainability. And now to your question about the building owners care. I would just share with you that recently I met with Amazon and with Target stores. They're taking maybe a step back on some of their sustainability moves, but what they're not taking a step back on is reducing their carbon footprint. And they also want to do more circularity and recycling. So we do think, again, that building owners, now it's not everybody, but certainly large public companies, large sophisticated building owners, schools and universities, they want to do the right thing. So, you know, we are definitely seeing people asking more about how is the roof going to contribute to my overall sustainability footprint for my building. Dan, what do you say?
I agree. And first of all, Rick and Suzanne, when Brian talks about development, since he's been in, and I've been in the roofing industry, they used to deliver roof material with a horse and buggy. So Brian, they used to, I think we gotta point that out. I think number one, sustainability, they do call it more circularity because they want to talk about the building envelope, not just the roof. It's been growing, not only the Amazons and the Hershey's and the Targets, more people have their radar up on it and they're more willing to pay for it. They want to hear the story about sustainability. It used to be kind of a buzz comment that people would talk sustainability, but if it came with a much higher price tag, they didn't really want to hear about it. Two, the price tag's coming down. People are building it into the way they do business. For many manufacturers, they pull back their own old roofs, which is a story the educated buyer wants to hear. I'll install your roof and I'll take off the one that's there. I'll recycle it and put it into a different product. Building owners, architect, roof consultants want to hear more about that story because it's at the cost to a degree of the manufacturer. So they, are really wanting the sustainability story, and it's starting to come from the top down. It's going from the Hershey's and the Amazons and the Targets to more the school systems in local municipalities. The roofing contractor is starting to lead with the story. So it's growing, and I think we're going to continue to see it grow for the obvious reasons, for all of climate reasons, energy cost reasons, and it just makes good business sense as well as community sense. So it is,
you know, just to ask on that, Dan, I mean, do you think, I mean, who's really paying in the end for that sustainability there? It has to be, are we to the point where the recycled material brings the cost down? And it's a win-win for everybody? It seems like it's still a cost premium, or maybe I'm wrong.
It's still a cost plus, but the plus part is coming down. And you can recycle material that goes back into the future product of the finished goods product.
Okay.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, the building owner, the last guy writing the check, probably is responsible for any upcharge, but the upcharge is really coming down, along with all the efficiencies that manufacturers are making within their own company every day. So the net cost increase has been coming down. So it's not just a good story to have at a higher price. It's like a really, really great story that's not at much of a higher price, if at all.
Just makes so much sense to take the old roof off and recycle it. And I guess maybe to Brian, is there any developments there to make it more efficient or more easy to recycle these things and, have more people doing this in the market?
Yeah, so you hit on something, right? So again, I think that the PVC roofing industry's got kind of the pole position right now in recycling, but we're certainly expecting and hoping that the other technologies will. I think it is an advantage of a thermoplastic. Thermoplastic, whether it's TPO or PVC, is easier to recycle than some of the other roofing technologies are. The one thing that right now, let's say 50% of the roofs are adhered and 50% of the roofs are mechanically attached. Mechanically attached is very easy to recycle. You just slice the membrane, roll it up, and then you bundle and package it and take it off the roof and goes to the recycler. Adhered roofs, because it's got all the stuff stuck to the underside of it, the facer of the insulation, typically the glue on the backside. When I say we now, it's the Chemical Fabric and Film Association is working with a company that just put a production line in that they think they can take back old adhered roofs. So that would be, and again, stay tuned, that's not available today, but if we could have that happen, now we've eliminated one obstacle for, let's say, 50% of the roofs. So I think you hit on something that, first of all, there's a lot of square footage of mechanically attached. It's the most popular way to install a mechanically attached roof. So there's plenty of them out there. Unfortunately, still a lot of them are going to landfills. What we need to do as an industry is get the word out. Most people don't even know they could recycle their PVC roof. Once they know it, then we can get into this conversation. You asked the question, how much more does it cost? It costs peanuts. Most times, if it's a re-roof, the PVC roof membrane's coming off anyways. Rather than putting it in the dumpster, all you got to do is bundle it and package it, put it on a pallet, lower it from the roof, and you're done, right? So it adds peanuts to the cost of a re-roofing job. And no, we're really excited about the future. It's just a matter, we're helping this podcast as one way, is to continue to get the word out that these things it's available today.
And people are getting better every day at doing it, right, Brian? You would say, geez, 2-3 years ago, that roofing contractor was new ground for him to strip a roof off and get it off and send it back to be recycled. Today, there's best-in-class operations. There's tools and provided that are hardware-type tools on the job that are helping. There's pallet and packaging tools. It's getting easier for that roofer to do. The challenge, though, is that labor piece, right? He wants to use his labor to put down a roof, but now he really gets a satisfied customer. I'm talking about the roofing contractor when he employs labor to take a roof off, then put a new one down. That, by the way, if it's a PVC roof, can be taken off 25, 30 or longer years from then again. It's a story the educated roofing owner really wants to know and hear.
Yeah, really, really great things on the horizon there, and really interesting to hear you guys dive into some of the details on this. We could talk to you guys all day. I think we're starting to run out of time and probably need to wrap things up pretty soon. But I just think it's been, really tremendous for you guys to share your insights and expertise with us. And a lot of things changing and happening in commercial roofing. Maybe we'll have to ask them to come back again and hit on a few more. What do you think, Suzanne?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a perfect topic for a round 2.
Yeah, I agree.
It would be wonderful. It's great being here. There's a fantastic industry. It's a fantastic, wonderful industry, the commercial roofing industry. So any way to help, I'll speak for Brian. We'd be happy to, right, Brian?
Well, this was a fantastic discussion. Thank you, Dan and Brian. We really appreciate you being our guests today. And we appreciate all the insight that you've provided, not only us, but our audience.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.